Hi, I'm Jim Bratton, the Assistant Vice President for Economic Development and the Executive Director of the Office of Technology Development at the University of Oklahoma. This presentation will cover the issues and resources for considering launching and managing new ventures and conflicts of interest within the university setting. There are many reasons one might consider launching a university startup. Launching a startup can create exciting new challenges, offer financial independence to the founders. It's an opportunity to translate university innovation into commercial applications. It also can create lasting impact for improving lives based on the innovation created at the university. It can create recognition and distinction for the inventor and the university. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, or something that aligns well with our mission as a university, launching a university startup can contribute to economic development. What I want to share with you today are some of my thoughts and perspectives on some of the best practices for launching a new university startup. Prior to joining the University of Oklahoma, I spent 15 years as a venture capitalist in Boston and Silicon Valley and managed around $500 million of assets. And out of that, I invested $62 million in 25 university startups across a variety of different industries and sectors. I worked with several different universities and found some commonalities across the practices that they employed for standing up companies and managing the conflicts of interest with their faculty founders. Let's begin with evaluating what you should consider before you launch your startup. As an investor, we considered 4 types of risk before making any investment: technical risk, market risk, capital risk, and management risk. All of these are considerations for the value of the investment, and they are things that any investor can mitigate through structure with the equity or the type of capital or the amount of capital that they have put into the company. But entrepreneurs cannot insulate themselves from these types of risks. The first risk is technical risk, and it's the risk that the technology may or may not work. The second risk regarding market is the risk that the consumers will actually buy the product that's being built. Capital risk refers to sufficient capital being available when it's required to fund the company to meet its next milestones. The final risk that investment teams evaluate is management risk. And this may be the most important consideration for any investor, but also for any entrepreneur. Management risk relates to the functionality of the team and the risk that they're going to perform the duties that they're required to perform, and that they're going to adapt to the circumstances necessary to be successful. Investors can insulate themselves from any of these risks through structuring or timing of capital. Entrepreneurs, however, are exposed to all of the risks, particularly management risk. Before you begin the steps to launch your company, it's very important as an entrepreneur to consider these 4 types of risks and to identify issues and problems that may arise and formulate answers and responses for how you will manage and mitigate these risks from an operating standpoint. Once you've evaluated these 4 risks, you can then turn your attention to focusing on how to communicate and frame the opportunity to a potential outside investor. There are many ways to do this and many ways to think about it, but some of the best resources, I think, are the Business Model Canvas and the Lean Launch Process, and a couple of books, namely The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz, and The Art of the Start by Guy Kawasaki. There's a great YouTube video on the Business Model Canvas. It lasts about 2 minutes, that's easy to find, and gives you a great overview of its purpose and its use. It offers a great vocabulary for talking with other entrepreneurs, mentors, and would-be investors. Information about the Lean Launch Process, designed by Steve Blank and Jerry Engel, are also available online for free and are great resources for helping you frame and think about your technology. The purpose of the Business Model Canvas and the Lean Launch Process are to help you think holistically about the commercial model for your innovation. Beginning with the value proposition in the middle and the customer segments on the right, the Business Model Canvas and Lean Launch Process help you think about the product market fit of your innovation and matching up through channels and customer relationships how you might deliver your technology or your innovation to the market and what the model might look like for your commercial enterprise. Moving around the rest of the canvas, you'll think about the key activities and key partners and key resources you will need to be successful in building your commercial model. In addition, you'll evaluate the cost structure and the revenue model to identify profitable structure for delivering your commercial product to the market. Working with the Business Model Canvas and the Lean Launch Process will help you develop a common vernacular that you can use to interact with key resources who will help you build your enterprise. There are a lot of resources here in Oklahoma that can help you evaluate your opportunity and bring it to market. Our office, the Office of Technology Development, is always available to help you with your disclosure and matching up with commercial partners. There are other resources on campus as well. For instance, the Ronnie K. Irani Center for Creation of Economic Wealth, the Sooner Launchpad run out of the Price College of Business, and the Price College of Business itself with many faculty and staff who are trained in entrepreneurship and developing companies and bringing them to market. There are also several other organizations here in the state of Oklahoma who can help you evaluate the commercial potential of your innovation and may even be able to provide some funding. The Oklahoma Venture Forum is an organization whose members consist of entrepreneurs and service providers focused on early-stage and growth companies. They're very eager to help young startups, and they meet monthly at the University Research Park in Oklahoma City. OCAST and I2E are two other Oklahoma institutions who can help would-be entrepreneurs evaluate the commercial prospects of their innovation. OCAST provides non-dilutive financing for research to researchers at the university as well as incorporated enterprises. And I2E can provide service assistance for evaluating a commercial potential and also invests in startups. Another program that I'm particularly fond of is I-Corps. This program is sponsored both by the National Institutes of Health as well as the National Science Foundation, and they incorporate the principles of the Business Model Canvas and Lean Launch and help researchers and graduate students evaluate the commercial potential for innovation that they've created. So once you've done your homework and evaluated the commercial model for your innovation or technology, it may still not be the time to form a company. There are a couple of other questions you want to ask yourself before running off to the Secretary of State's office and filing papers for incorporating. One of the first things you want to ask is, do I have evidence that my company will make more money than it spends? This is the most fundamental property of a corporation. You have to be profitable. If the answer is yes, that you've collected enough evidence that you will eventually make more money than you spend, then it may be time to incorporate. Another question you want to ask yourself is, am I ready to ship or sell something to a third party? So, have you developed a prototype or developed a reagent or some sort of product that you're going to give to somebody else to test or evaluate outside of your presence? You may want to incorporate. And the real reason you want to incorporate at this point might be to provide some liability insulation between you and the third party. A third circumstance under which you might want to incorporate will be if you are going to incur liabilities for a commercial purpose. In this context, if you are borrowing money or taking in capital for operations, it's best to have an institutional entity between you as a person and the third party with whom you're interacting. If the only reason you are incorporating is to seek research funding, then this is probably not a good enough reason to form a new company. There are very few entities that provide basic research funding at the corporate level, and there are a lot of decisions that have to go into setting up the corporation, which I'll talk about next. So what now? You've evaluated the business model, gone through the lean launch process, and talked to customers and other outside mentors, and come to the conclusion that now is the right time to form a company. My advice is to seek outside professional help with setting up the legal structure, setting up the accounting structure, and developing an advisory board to help you with operational issues that you will encounter. Just as an example, some of the questions you'll have to decide before incorporating will include the form of the corporation. Is it an S Corp, a C Corp, a sole proprietorship, or an LLC? What would be the pros and cons and trade-offs of forming one over the other? Also, who are the owners? Is it you? Is it you and others? In what proportion? What is the equity split? Does it vest now? Does it vest later? Are they friends? Are they family? What are the issues involved in operating an entity that would have friends and family involved in your company? How will we pay ourselves? Other things that are particularly important as you set up operations are, where's the office? What's the physical presence? What's our digital presence? What does our website look like? Finally, do we have the freedom to operate? If you're a university employee and you've invented something, chances are that the university has the rights to the intellectual property, and you'll need to get a license to your own technology before you begin to commercialize it. This brings us to the second issue. Once you've incorporated, if you're going to stay at the university and maintain your employment there, you'll need to initiate a conflict of interest plan with your department chair. Conflicts of interest are situations in which financial or other personal considerations may compromise an employee's professional judgment in carrying out his or her university responsibilities that include but are not limited to teaching, research, service, contract administration, and purchasing. It's important to understand that conflicts of interest include the existence of an actual conflict, the potential of a conflict to occur, and even the appearance of a potential conflict of interest. So how do you manage a conflict of interest? You'll want to begin by disclosing the conflict of interest to members of your college and department. You may want to disclose it to the provost, depending on whether or not you have students involved in your research. And you may also want to disclose it to the Office of Technology Development and the Vice President for Research in the event that you are licensing your technology and/or there is funding related to your company coming through your lab. Next, you want to create a management plan. This is not a template. This will be a memo that you originate in conjunction with your department chair to identify and outline where the potential conflicts exist and how they'll be managed between you and the other members of your department or college. I also encourage you to develop a conflict of interest management plan with your company because your duties and responsibilities to the board and to the shareholders will conflict with your duties and responsibilities to the university. And it's important that your corporate obligations have a method for managing and mitigating those conflicts as well. The final step in managing a conflict of interest is reviewing and updating the management plan on at least an annual basis. If circumstances change or it's determined that the plan is not effective, it should be modified to accommodate whatever circumstances have arisen. And it's important to disclose and update these new conflicts to the college, provost, OTD, and VPR as they occur. So when you draft your conflict of interest management plan, just remember, this is not a form. There are no boxes to check. This is a plan created by you and the party with whom you have the conflict. At OU, it's between you as an employee and your department or college leadership outlining the conflicts and the management procedures for handling those conflicts. With your company, it's between you and the board of directors or the shareholders, outlining your responsibilities to the company and to the university and how you'll manage those conflicts. Spell out the conflicts clearly, identify the mechanisms for managing them, including personnel responsibilities, and review and update the plan at least annually, and particularly if the circumstances change. So in summary, when evaluating whether or not you should incorporate and launch a new business, if your business model is just to write grants for fundamental research, then the answer is unequivocally no. However, if your business model is to make more money than you spend over the long run, commercialize a new technology, and/or you are about to incur some liability or risk, then yes, it's probably the time to incorporate. But I strongly encourage you to get professional help in doing so. Also, with respect to conflicts of interest, if you think it's a conflict, it probably is a conflict. And in that case, you need to disclose it and you need to manage it. Just remember, there are lots of resources here at the university that can help you evaluate the opportunity you're considering and make the right decision about when is the right time to form and incorporate your company. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us at the Office of Technology Development, either on the Norman or HSC or Tulsa campuses, or other resources mentioned earlier. Again, thank you for listening, and we look forward to talking with you.